Hello, everybody. As many of us know, internship season is upon us. So I wanted to make a short video sharing my internship experiences and hopefully giving some young aspiring engineers some tips and tricks on how to land some great internships. So starting out, just a little bit about me. My name's Evan. I graduated about a month ago, and in 2 weeks, I start my full-time job as a biomedical engineer working in the R&D department at a pretty large biomedical firm. During my undergraduate experience, I had 3 internships. And what was really cool about those is they were all in different industries and they all allowed me to grow a ton, but they also all increase in complexity each year. So I was able to build on one another. I actually went to a really small school, not known for engineering. In fact, my school only became ABET accredited my freshman year. So that really worked out for me. I actually had no idea what ABET accreditation was when I first enrolled, but I'm glad they got it. But I was one of only a handful of students in my class to actually land internships, let alone more than one. So I feel pretty adamant that I have the expertise to speak on this subject. So first and foremost, when you're trying to get an internship, this actually starts before the recruiting season begins. You have to do extra. And when I say extra, I'm talking about extra projects, whether those are school sponsored or industry sponsored or just part of a club. You need to go out of your way to do extra projects that aren't in your classes. Not only does this help you grow as a student and an engineer, but it shows recruiters that you're pretty serious about what you're doing and you're highly motivated. Obviously, if you've never had an internship before, recruiters are going to understand this, but they're going to look at what you have done, and that's where these projects come in. They'll give you something to talk about in interviews, but most importantly, they'll put something on your resume, right? One great example of this that I actually used is NASA LSpace. So if you haven't heard of NASA LSpace, it's a free program run by NASA professionals. They pair you up with a group and a couple of NASA professionals and give you a project to work on over, I believe it's a 12-week span, right? And so what this does is obviously you're learning a ton every week, but it allows you to put NASA on your resume. Even if it's in the project section, it's still such a huge buzzword. Recruiters see that, especially if they don't know what LSpace is. They see that and they're immediately amazed and your resume pops out. So going out of your way to find opportunities like this is extremely important. At the end of the day, you can do as much resume polishing as you want, but if you don't have impressive material on there, your resume is going to get looked over every time. Going out of your way to do extra shows passion, grit, and it shows that you're a highly motivated individual, and that's honestly what marketing yourself for an internship is, right? If you can't show to a recruiter that you're somebody that's going to excel well in their workplace and add an actual contribution, you're not doing yourself any favors. So this might mean going on LinkedIn and making a kind of braggy post. So you need to be ready to get out of your comfort zone and show people that you're serious about getting a good internship. The next thing that really helped me was creating a strong networking system. So when I say networking system, I mean sort of a procedure that I would use in order to network well and connect with people in the industries that I wanted to go into. So the way I went about this is every day I would go and add 5 people on LinkedIn. And I wasn't just adding random people. I would add people who I might have had a mutual connection to or went to my school. But as I mentioned earlier, I went to a pretty small school with not a ton of engineering graduates. So I had to think outside the box a little bit. So what really helped me is that I was a student athlete in college. So even though I didn't have a ton of alumni at my school who were in the industries that I wanted to work in, there were a lot of people that played the same sport as me, so I was able to use that as an in. Even if I didn't know these people, they would go to my profile or my LinkedIn profile and see lacrosse listed there, and immediately we have that sort of bond, right? And that just makes people more favorable towards you. So even if you're not a student athlete, everybody has their thing, right? So you need to go find people on LinkedIn who have some sort of connection to what you do or who you are. Second, it's best to find people on LinkedIn that are probably graduated in the last 5 years or so. They understand what it was like to be you. They understand, the position you're in, and more likely than not, they're going to be willing to help out. Now, if you do 5 a day, each week, you might get 10 to 15 ads back, especially if you're, going for people that you have some sort of connection with. So when somebody adds you back on LinkedIn, what I would do is I would immediately message them, just a short message, 1 or 2 sentences. And honestly, I think being transparent here is the best way to go. I see a lot of people, when they're giving networking advice, say that you don't want it to just look like you're looking for a job. You want to make an actual connection with these people. And while that is true, it's extremely hard to do online, right? Obviously, that holds true for if you're meeting somebody in person. But online, you have to consider these people aren't stupid, right? They remember what it was like to be in your shoes. And they know that you're not just trying to make friends on LinkedIn. You're looking for jobs and internships. So in your initial message, be transparent about that. 1 to 2 sentences just saying, hey, my name's blah, blah, blah. I'm interested in opportunities in your industry. Would you be willing to connect for a quick 5 to 10 minute call? If they get back to you, great, you set up that call. If they don't get back to you, what I like to do is I'll message them at the same time every week. It shows that you're an organized person and you're dedicated and passionate about working at their company. And if you do that 3 or 4 times and they still don't get back to you, then you move on. But I guarantee you by the second or third, 100% they'll come back and they'll schedule a call with you. Go about this call, right? Get on the call, talk about what opportunities they might have there, see if you might be a good fit. And if the call goes well, you should go to their company website, find current applications that are open, apply, and then message them after and say, hey, I just applied for this position. We'll love a recommendation, but if not, no worries. Most of the time, this is a really easy process for them to recommend you. So it's not going to take too much of their time. So they really aren't losing anything. And if you had a meaningful chat with them, it's not going to be a big deal and they'll most likely do it. And this gives you a huge leg up on your application. And once again, persistence is key here. So I like to use kind of the same method. If they don't get back to you about that recommendation, just follow up weekly at the same time, right? I can't emphasize enough. If you follow up every week at 8 a.m. on Monday and they see that pattern, obviously if the messages change and they don't think it's automated, they're going to be like, wow, this person's really interested and they're passionate about this. I'll help them out and take the 5 minutes to send a recommendation. And number 3, just some advice on actual resumes. So obviously there's a million different resume templates out there that all work great, and a million different ATS tools that you can use to make sure that your resume is getting all those key points. So I want to talk about my method for how I went about applying as far as my resumes. So every recruiting season, I would make 5 to 7 resumes for different industries that I wanted to go into. And I would gear those resumes towards those specific industries and only use those 5, right? So there's a lot of people that make a custom resume for every single job based off every single job description. And I think that's just way too time consuming. I think it's much better to have a generic 5 to 7 because a lot of these job openings are going to have the exact same keywords in the descriptions. You can even, use ChatGPT or Claude, give it the PDFs of your resume, paste the description in there and be like, which resume best fits this description? And most of the time they'll give you a pretty good recommendation. So this is really going to streamline your application process, which will allow you to do more applications. And at the end of the day, sometimes it is just a volume game. If you put more shots up, more shots are going to go in. So ultimately, yes, this is a lot of work. It's not easy to find good internships, especially nowadays. The job market is so saturated with engineers, but if you put in the work, I promise you, you will stand out because as many engineers are out there, there's really only, 5% of us that are willing to do the work to get the dream job. So if you commit to, using this system every day for the 3 months in the recruiting season, you're going to get a good internship. So yeah, that's all I really got. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you sticking around and listening to my advice. And also let's help each other out, right? If you have some advice that I maybe missed in this video, comment it down below and let some other people know. So yeah, thanks guys.